This is my Corvette. Well, I mean, not that one. This is my Corvette. It's a Barbie toy. It's pink, has 4-wheel drive, and it's fast. So incredibly fast that I'm gonna race against 4 different real Corvettes on a real drag strip. It just flies, man. Not only do I think I can win, but this whole thing took just 3 weeks to build and cost me less than an e-bike. But before I show you how I did it, it's important to understand why I did it. After all, going fast isn't particularly easy or safe, especially not in a pink plastic toy that's been sitting around for years. But Barbie or not, this is a Corvette, and its heritage was built on bringing something special to the everyman. Corvettes have come a long way in the last 70 years, and nowadays they can beat cars that cost 10 times as much. They're the little guy that packs a punch, and this is the littlest of them all. I don't have the time to make it especially flashy or pretty, but I am going to use every bit of technical knowledge, resourcefulness, and gut instinct that I have to make it defy the expectations of everyone who sees it. So I should probably get to work. Now, years ago, when I first bought the Corvette, I learned that Power Wheels are hard to work on in my basement. So this time, I needed to somehow convince my friend David to let me use his shop. I want to make it beat a real Corvette. Is that something that you might be interested in helping me with?
Yes.
Now, the body of the Corvette is plastic. Very dirty, broken plastic. And that's fine enough for going low speeds, like in my voice-controlled Power Wheels video, but for the amount of torque I plan to put through this thing, the plastic would fold like a lawn chair. I'm not sure exactly how I want to proceed with this. This thing's gonna have to go fast, like crazy fast. So I began searching Marketplace for a go-kart frame to repurpose into a chassis. Now, your average shifter kart frame is just too big and, well, comfortable compared to the dimensional demands of the Barbie body. So I did consider building one out of some scrap metal, but I'm not a welder, and buying all the other parts, like bearings, brakes, and steering components separately would get expensive really quick. Thankfully, my endless scrolling finally uncovered a low-profile, simple frame that was roughly the right dimensions and only cost me $350.
I mean, it's a go-kart. It works.
The go-kart came with a gas engine, but it was bulky and had nowhere near the torque needed for the job.
Yeah, buddy.
This baby was going to be electric. You see, my buddy Frank was going to rebuild his crazy mini motorcycle and offered to lend me the beast of an electric motor on it.
They're like just laughing when they go by. They're like, oh, it's another Joel Creates video.
But I knew I needed more. I'm not the first person to put a big electric motor on a go-kart or Power Wheels. It's fun to watch them burn out or wheelie under the crazy torque, but this build is more about brains than brawn. I could have all the power in the world, but if I can't get that power to the ground, it's sort of a moot point. After all, my Corvette needs to beat real Corvettes. And since a pair of wheels can only take so much power before they break loose, the easy and obvious answer is to add power to another set of wheels, the front wheels. That's why I stole the hub motors off of my mini motorcycle.
Is it gonna be 4-wheel drive? This thing is gonna fly.
Now, before we learn to fly, we'd better make sure we can at least walk. And nobody likes to walk on an empty stomach, which is why you should check out today's sponsor, Factor. Tasty food has never been faster because Factor sends their fresh, never frozen meals straight to your door. And while they take just 2 minutes to cook, they taste like it took a lot longer.
Yep, the chicken's good, vegetables are nice.
That was 2 minutes in the microwave.
Really?
Yeah. And while they do have a massive variety of delicious dietary options for keto, calorie smart, vegan and veggie, or protein plus, for me, it's the smoothies that take the cake. As in, I'd much rather have one than a piece of cake. And everyone I share them with seems quite grateful.
Oh, wow.
It's really, really, really good.
Can I keep this?
Factor's meals are cheaper and quicker than takeout, and way more convenient than meal planning and grocery shopping. A seriously busy person can seriously save a lot of time, planning, and headache by having Factor's delicious meals, smoothies, and snack add-ons waiting in their fridge. And Factor is now owned by HelloFresh, so there's a delicious choice for every taste and time constraint. So head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code JoelCreates50 to get 50% off your first Factor box. Thanks, Factor. We'll come back to mounting the hub motors, because we need a pretty special battery to get all 3 motors spinning anyways. And Frank told me about these discount lithium polymer cells that are salvaged from medical equipment backups. For just over $200, I could have 90 volts, 800 amps, and make custom bus bars for easy parallel charging and series assembly. Of course, having exposed terminals and no BMS does come with some risks. Well, I just made the mistake of setting down the battery on some aluminum without thinking.
It looks a little dark. That's a lot of amps.
I thought I was being careful, but it only takes a split second to make a massive mistake. Now the body might not have been beautiful, but I wanted to do it justice. After all, a pink Corvette is exotic, a statement in bold defiance of the usual, and at the very least, it had to fit, which meant my brother had to do some cutting. Now, I was gonna mount the electric motor in the same spot that the gas one had been until I realized, man, that motor is gonna go right up my ass. Even that this bucket's where I sit, it's gonna cut right into this. But if I put the motor in here, not only would it fit here, but it would also lower the center of gravity and shift it further forward, which would help keep the car planted under the crazy forces it would experience. And to further assist power delivery, David let me borrow some shifter cart slicks for the rear, whose massive surface area would grip significantly better than the old knobby tires. And with the body trimmed to fit, things were really starting to come together nicely. This is roomy. I can't believe this is some random frame I found on Craigslist. It's like it was built for this Corvette. I will have the prettiest, fastest go-kart. I'm working on it with my brother. This is the coolest thing ever. It definitely was cool, but there were some big challenges that forced me to make some design choices that were a bit funky. First off, those front hub motors were built for a fork, and if I only attached them by the wire side, well, that shaft is hollow. It's not meant to carry the load like that, it's meant to be clamped on both sides. I think what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna mount for this one, because I believe this is solid. In the front, you're gonna see a wire coming into the wheels from both sides. I think I'm much more okay with it than the risk of this ripping off while I'm going 60 miles an hour. See? Funky. My buddy Sam in the shop at Madison Area Technical College welded some nuts to the spindle for me. I then cut the old shafts off and tapped some set screw holes. This way, the shaft of the motor could be threaded in, locked in place by the set screws, then mounted to the steering linkage and frame. Some of my rear motor mounts were pretty solid, but some may or may not have involved a few hose clamps. Funky indeed. The mounts are just not enough as it is. Every time I do it, it pulls the motor back and loosens the chain.
That chain was so tight and now it's so loose. Let's just do 50 miles an hour with a chain like that. That's safe.
Thankfully, I found a straightforward way to add more bracing and tension the chain simultaneously. This funky ride was really coming together, but when I finally found a drag strip that would work with me, the only opening that fit both our schedules and worked with the crazy Wisconsin weather was, They want to do Thursday.
Like
2 days.
2 days from now?
2 days.
Let's do it.
Now, 2 days wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, I had run some basic tests, which were, good. Whoa! No brakes, no brakes, the brakes are gone. What happened to my brakes? I just pulled on it so hard that it straightened out. Wow. And once I got that sorted, Frank and I even figured out a way to add a second electronic brake using the motor controller app. I can stop! It's difficult to describe what I'm feeling right now. It's sort of like hanging onto a rocket. You know that if you hold on, you might not come back down. It's... The front tires were now slicks, the batteries had straps and an emergency cutoff, the chain had a guard to protect my ass, and David even decided to spoil me by ordering a high-accuracy 10 Hz GPS speed timer. It's like hyper-accurate, within like 1/100 of a second or something. Wow. The only real problem with the last-minute scheduling was we didn't have any real Corvettes yet. None of my 3 existing options could work with the last-minute scheduling, so we posted on a bunch of car forums, sent emails, and called friends. Now, we did get some responses, but there was no guarantee that anyone was actually gonna show up. We would just have to head out and hope for the best. Thankfully, we were heading just a little southeast to a place between Chicago and Milwaukee called the Great Lakes Dragaway. The people there loved the idea, were super friendly and easy to work with. They even took the time to drag the track for us, which made things extra sticky. And just a few minutes after arriving, one by one, our faith in the kindness and Corvettes of strangers was validated.
So how do you guys feel about racing the Corvette? Sorry, the Barbie Corvette.
Barbie Corvette?
Scared.
As I began prepping, my challengers each took their turn warming up and getting a feel for the track. Now mine had only had basic testing done, so when it came to my turn, I wanted to take it easy and slowly approach the higher speeds.
He's never driven it that fast.
My crew, of course, gave their full support.
He's fine. Tell him just give her. Joel, when you watch this later, you had everybody over here all hyped up and you went down the damn track at 30 miles an hour. Asshole.
I didn't even realize he was gonna go. He just...
Well, I will admit that I was a bit preoccupied with the task at hand. Not dying. But ready or not, it was time to face my first competitor. Tom's ride has been in his family since his dad bought it brand new in 1960. It might be old, but it boasts 270 horsepower and has crossed the country more than once, meaning Tom knows how to drive it. The goal was to see who could reach 60 miles per hour first. And if I couldn't win this, then I wasn't gonna win anything today. One Corvette down, 3 to go. Now Scott drives a 1991 C4 Corvette, but they made this style as early as 1983. The same style the original Barbie Corvette is based off of. And I knew that things were about to get a bit dicey, because even though he technically has closer to 250 horsepower, this car would be able to put that power down more effectively.
I think he got him to 60.
It was at this point that I realized a serious problem with my logic. I had been reaching 60 miles an hour while in the lead, but that doesn't mean that I was reaching it before they were. You see, my 0 to 60 was 5.9 seconds, but my 0 to 30 was 1.9, meaning that it took me twice as long to get to 60 as it did to 30. So I re-raced both Tom and Scott to the 8th mile marker, and while I had Tom, Scott was able to pull ahead, and his phone measured a 5.6 second 0 to 60. Now this toy was never going to win in every length of race, but now the question was, against a Corvette with over twice the power, could it win at all? That isn't hyperbole, by the way. Berto said that his 2003 C5 is supercharged and puts out 620 horsepower to the rear wheels. And you know what? I believe it. It's hard to tell from the footage, but Berto says that I actually held the lead until about 30 miles per hour, which is crazy.
Joel, how do you feel after that race?
Good. It's so stable. It flies, man.
Do you think you're gonna beat Joel?
I'm a little worried, I'll be honest.
Does it scare you at all being on that thing?
No. When I'm doing it alone, I'm like, why am I doing this? What's gonna go wrong? As soon as there's someone to beat, I stop thinking about that completely and I just go. I was going to need every edge I could get against my final opponent, Saya's C8 Corvette, the newest and fastest production Corvette in the world. Although it only had 500 horsepower, it had better weight distribution and launch control. If I could pull ahead at all, I would be amazed. There was only one way to find out. I don't know that anybody expected me to hold on as long as I did. And at around 300 feet, I was only about a car length behind. I was thrilled. That's a brand new Corvette. That's like the fastest one they make. That's crazy.
That was nuts. Never in a million years did I think that a Barbie car would keep up with me.
So what have we learned? Well, for one, people are pretty amazing. From David and Frank's unending support to the awesome Corvette guys who came together to help a complete stranger at the very last minute, and that's not even mentioning Great Lakes Dragaway, who practically gave us a safe and awesome place to make my dream a reality. So yeah, you can make a toy beat the real thing, but you're probably gonna need help, and it's okay to ask for it. Please help my channel by liking, sharing, subscribing, or check out my Patreon or PayPal in the links below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.
So all you do is you think of some stupid ass idea and go, I'm gonna do this.
He just described my channel to a T.
Well, congratulations, I just met you.
And he just met me.